The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, 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 folks out in Second
Welcome
Breakfast
to
Nation.
Second Breakfast.
We were just talking before we started recording about my need to go out and visit Phil, and I'm not sure he wants me to visit anymore because I'm going to stab him in the ribs with the sharpened end of a toothbrush.
You know what my last thought would be if you stabbed me in the ribs? I'd have my last two thoughts. I'd have time for two thoughts before I died, right?
Okay.
My first one would be like, wow, he called that.
He called his shot. Unbelievable.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I think my second thing would be like, Andy knows how to make a shiv out of a toothbrush. That's pretty amazing.
You don't know my life.
No, I'm not. I don't. And I'm just saying, I think I would be like, this is well done, Andy. Well done. I guess my point is my last moments before dying would be admiration for you.
I really can't ask for anything more than that. I think that's
my point.
Yeah.
Well, here's what's happened, everybody. Welcome to Second Breakfast. That's Andy Roth, and I'm his co-host, Philip Duvall.
It's
and
true.
We are going to talk to you today. It's Wednesday. And it's Wednesday, which means it's Project Melway, brought to you by
The Gibsonian Institute.
Andy, what's the Gibsonian Institute?
It's a shadowy conglomerate made up of the world's most powerful people, much like the Pentaveret from Soy Mary and Axe Murder. They are the most powerful people in the world, and they have nothing better to do than to task Phil and me with watching every single one of Mel Gibson's movies in chronological order. There have been some good times.
And the reason, there's been some good times.
There have been some bad times.
And then there was today.
It's true. What about the
Today
reason?
is a whole other level. Today's a whole other level. Let me tell you something. The reason that part of the reason that I just completely walked all over Andy's intro on purpose.
It's all good.
Was because Andy was already in, like before we started, he was just being super grouchy with me. And you know why? No, you know why? It's because this movie just made you so furious.
Yeah.
That like Andy's just been not like he watched it and then emailed me. I hadn't seen it yet, and he watched me and he emailed me. Normally he waits till I've seen a movie before we talk about it.
Yeah.
But he emailed me and was just like, oh dear God, this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I saw it and I was like, oh.
I think my exact words were something to the effect of, I can't wait till the time when I never have to talk about this movie ever again. And
yeah, that's what you said. Yeah,
yeah.
I hope may we never, after this podcast is over, may we never speak of this movie again.
Let the bad movie not be spoken of. Not ever.
The name of the movie is The $1 Million Hotel.
Yeah.
And it is actually not starring, this may be the first Mel Gibson movie since he became a star.
Yeah.
Where he is not the star.
Yes.
I won't say the movie suffers for it because the movie suffers for so many things. How could you choose?
It's true. It's true.
And it is wow.
Yeah.
The $1 Million Hotel was based on an idea that Bono had. You know Bono. Some people call him Bono, but he's the lead singer of U2. And Bono had this idea to make a movie. I don't know why I'm being profoundly disrespectful to Bono.
He did come up with this movie.
I think it's because of this movie. I think his decision to make this movie makes me feel the desire to, like... Apparently they were filming Where the Streets Have No Name, which they filmed in L.A. It's in a very famous music video.
Okay.
And apparently during filming he got an idea for a movie, which they didn't end up making for another 10 years. But he got this idea for a movie. I wish that he had... Video? I guess they wish... I wish he hadn't have... I almost feel like I'd be okay with Joshua Tree never having been made just so that this movie never had gotten made. But
right.
I think there's a lot of people that would be mad at me if I said that.
Whatever you think of Bono and of U2 and of their artistic accomplishments as forces for good, humanitarians, all that stuff, it's almost entirely wiped away by this movie.
It's pretty darn close. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
it's pretty darn close.
What is this movie about? And I have to ask you this because
I will tell you.
I have to be honest, Phil. I watched the movie, and I was paying attention, and I'm not sure I could tell you what this movie.
I nodded off during part of it. Not like for long, for like literally 30 seconds, like I did one of these things.
I couldn't be judging you less. I just couldn't.
And
be
I just
judging
didn't
you
care.
less. No.
And it wasn't like in the past that has happened, and I have rewound or I have
Sure.
stopped, restarted. There was one Mel Gibson movie that I had to take 3 viewings to watch it.
Sure.
This one, I was like, I don't care. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. It is about. There is a man. It's about a hotel in Los Angeles called the $1 Million Hotel in downtown LA, filled with crazy people.
Yes.
Well, I believe that actually they are legitimately crazy, like, and they're all on government subsidy or something like that, like
Right.
for, like, they can't really like hold down any sort of gainful employment. Which I don't know if there's hotels like that in downtown LA, but that's fine, whatever. But they all know each other and are friends, kind of like
Yes.
it's one of those like it's like a sitcom thing.
Right.
Anyways, like all good sitcoms, it starts with a death, with a suicide.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a guy who committed suicide, jumping off the top of the building.
Yes.
But his father doesn't believe that it was suicide, and so he hires, which I don't understand, an FBI agent. I don't know how you hire an FBI agent, but he gets the FBI. This movie was made by Wim Wenders, who I believe is Danish or at least German, but he's certainly not American.
I think German.
And it's made by him and Bono, who's certainly not American. And this is their version of a story in downtown LA.
Yeah.
It's not.
Because
is it already hurting you people in the face? Is your face hurting yet from what I'm trying to describe to you?
I'm actually in pain from discussing this movie. I think he's German just because, I mean, his most famous movie, certainly in America, his most famous movie is Wings of Desire, and that's absolutely a German movie.
I have not seen Wings of Desire. I deeply desire, even after this, I really want to see Wings of Desire. I am excited to see Wings of Desire. I have heard that it's a phenomenal movie. I have seen
Ditto.
The American remake.
City of Angels?
Yes, with Nick Cage, Andre Braugher, and Meg Ryan.
Sure.
And it was totally not terrible.
Okay.
It was fine.
Man, that should go on the poster.
It would be nicer than some of the things that people said about it. But I'm a generous soul when it comes to. Hold on, I'm going to throw something at my dog.
Okay.
I'm a generous soul when it comes to Nick Cage. What can I say?
Oh, me too.
So here's the deal. So Wim Wenders, who is a real independent filmmaker, like a guy who's got a very independent voice and makes really off the wall movies.
It's true.
Here's one of them that he just made. And this movie is anyway, downtown LA, hotel full of crazies.
Real quick, just about Wim Wenders, his American analog would probably be, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jim Jarmusch. And if you don't know who that is,
because they both use some of the same actors.
Right. If you don't know who that is, my response to you is precisely, exactly. Right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, no, because if you do know who Jim Jarmusch is, then you're like, you don't know who Jim Jarmusch is.
Right. I've
only seen like one Jim Jarmusch movie. I haven't seen like all the ones that everyone says you have to see.
Neither have I.
But Jim Jarmusch is apparently like to the people. He's like a hipster, not in the current way that the word hipster is used at all.
Right.
Like in the way the word hipster was used like 5 years ago before hipsters ruined it.
Before it was cool, before overusing hipster was cool.
Yeah, Well, I don't understand what happened with the word hipster because it's been around forever, and then all of a sudden we just gave it to these douchebags. And I don't use that language on the show. Yeah. I try to be careful, but seriously, douchebags. And now we're we're just using this word that's been a great word, and we're just giving it to them.
Yeah.
Even if it's derogatory, we're still giving it to them. It didn't used to be derogatory. Not inherently.
Right.
Anyways. So in the classic sense of the hipster word, Jim Jarmusch and Wim Wenders are of a piece. They're film art film type peoples that would show in the art houses.
Indeed.
And would be in Sundance Film Festival before Sundance was just another film festival with a bunch of really famous people.
Right.
Which is what it is now.
Indeed. So,
$1 Million hotel in downtown LA, crazy people. Somebody jumps off the top of the building. Dad hires a FBI agent, which doesn't make any sense, to find out because he believes it's not a suicide. He believes it was really a murder because his son would never kill himself.
Yep.
He says he's a Jew and suicide is the ultimate dishonor. Well, I'm a Christian and suicide is not really looked upon very well either. But you know what? I know Christians that have killed themselves, so it's a weird logic that he has, but that's fine.
Right.
The FBI agent that he hires is none other than MG, Mel Gibson. And let's be honest, if you want the job done,
you give it to MG.
You get FBI agent Mel Gibson on the job.
You get FBI MG.
FBI MG. I love it. So anyhow, he comes and starts interviewing people and trying to figure out if they did it. Now, meanwhile, the guy who has killed himself or was killed, we're not sure. MG is getting to the bottom of the case. Had left behind all this artwork.
Yes.
And so, which was basically like he took previously existing pieces of art and put tar all over
covered them in tar.
And now they're being sold because he's dead. And the for some reason that I can't figure out, they are claiming the people who live in the $1 Million Hotel are claiming the artwork as their own or something so that they can sell it and then they can all make money off of it.
Right.
But all together, like they're teaming together. It's not like they make it not seem greedy. It makes it seem like
because some of them are getting evicted or something.
None of us understand. The movie is incoherent.
Completely incoherent. It's got
Mila Jovovich in it, giving it her the old college try at playing quirky.
True.
Tried to out Audrey Tautou, but she does not accomplish that. That's okay.
Tattoo?
I don't really care.
Okay,
really
fair enough.
She's adorable. I love Audrey Tautou. Tattoo.
I think it's Tattoo.
You might be right.
Anywho.
And Jeremy Davies.
Yes.
Who is I love him. I love him on Lost. He's great on Lost.
Yes.
If you don't know him from Lost, then watch Lost because it's a great television show. And I don't care what anyone says.
You might know him as the wussy pacifist soldier from Saving Private Ryan.
Pacifist isn't the right word. He's just a coward. But yeah,
you're right. That's fair. That's fair.
The cowardly soldier from Saving Private Ryan.
You might also know him as the
say it.
The vanilla milquetoast boyfriend from Secretary.
Yep. And what else, Andy?
I don't know.
Dewey from Justified?
Oh, of course.
Are you kidding me?
Of
the
course.
television show Justified. He's a phenomenal character in the first 2 seasons of Justified. I'm not sure if he makes it past the second season, but he's this is a spoiler. But he's a really good actor.
Yes.
Everybody ready for this? And Mel Gibson plays this weird, like paralyzed. He has to wear a metal neck brace. It's a shtick.
It's a chore. Okay, so we can dispense with the plot now because we're done.
Well, what I just told you, I just put more effort into describing the plot than the movie does in expositing the plot.
So we have talked on Project Melway and on other podcasts about acting being like finding the truth of the moment. And I think, in other words, and the thing that I keep saying, and you've said a couple times, you don't need to be the waiter with a limp, right? Just say your lines. Say your lines. Drop off the food. You're a waiter. That's your part, right?
Right.
And Mel Gibson wearing this neck brace is exactly the thing that I am talking about. It's a bunch of good actors. A bunch of good actors. Jimmy Smits, Harris Yulin, Donald Logue, Jeremy Davies, Tim Roth, and not one of them is good because not one of them is searching for the truth in any moment, and I blame vendors for that.
I do too, because I had a really interesting reaction to this movie, which was that I hated it, but didn't hate anybody in it, and furthermore didn't hate any of their performances. Wow, I made you spit up.
It's true.
No, like I didn't hate Mel Gibson's performance. I thought Mel Gibson attacked the role he was given with aplomb. I thought he gave it everything that he could give it. I thought Jeremy Davies, I thought each of them in their own right, they were cute little characters that he had designed. They just all added up to nothing.
Okay, let me clarify. Because I agree with you. I think they did a nice job, but I think at the end, in the final analysis, it didn't work because of what I said earlier. Because while they were, as you have said, attacking it with aplomb, giving it the old college try, I think they all did that, and they have a faculty with the craft of acting. So yay. But it didn't amount to anything. The other thing I want to clarify is I promise you I'll let you know if you make me spit up. But that was just splashback, the perils of drinking out of something shaped like a boot.
It'll happen. You got to watch Beer Fest. You've got to watch Broken Lizard's Beer Fest because they show you how to chug a boot without the air bubble catching you. You got to twist at a specific time or everything falls apart. Very fascinating.
Can we pause this and I'm going to go watch that?
Have you ever seen Beer Fest?
I haven't.
It's not a great movie. It's the third Broken Lizard movie, and it's probably the third best Broken Lizard movie. But it's got some really great moments in it, and I love Broken Lizard. I wish they'd still be doing stuff, but
I really like Super Troopers, but as a general rule, Broken Lizard is not one of my favorites actually.
Did you see Club Dread?
No.
Oh, Andy, it's a horror comedy.
Fantastic. Phil, we're stalling getting away from $1 Million.
I'm not stalling. I'm digressing. It's not the same thing. Stalling is a conscious effort not to talk about a movie. Digressing is just passionate enjoyment.
Of things that are not the thing we're supposed to be talking about.
Whatever. Everybody should go see Club Dread or rent it. I loved it. I thought Super Troopers was funnier.
Okay.
But in many ways, Club Dread was a more well-made film.
Okay.
Deal with that. I would like to see Beer Fest again. I like Broken Lizard. They're good guys. Okay. So anyways, and Jay Chandrasekhar has directed a bunch of stuff. He directed, I think, a bunch of Arrested Development episodes. Yep. I think, yep. And he directed. If you look up his directing resume for sitcoms, it'll blow your mind. He's just been all over the place. But he's the Indian dude, obviously, because his name is Chandrasekhar from Broken Lizard. He's really funny. This movie, $1 Million Hotel, which I haven't forgotten about.
Could have fooled me. Okay, I want to say something about the fact that everyone's crazy.
Crazy.
They're good actors playing crazy. But I never once believed that anybody was crazy.
No.
And
the closest anyone gets is Jeremy Davies and then maybe Mel Gibson.
Right. So first off, the dialogue, it's like they wrote scenes that made sense and then cut the page up and threw them up in the air and then just whatever order they grabbed them again, that's the order that the lines happened.
Nothing meant anything.
Zero. Everyone plays crazy. Okay. You had a digression. I'm gonna have a digression because I want to talk about something that I love for 30 seconds instead of this movie. There is a Canadian TV show called Slings and Arrows that follows a Shakespeare festival. 3 seasons. Each season of the show is a season of the festival, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a gorgeous show.
You're so dorky and adorable for even knowing what this thing is that you're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Adorkable? Is that a thing?
That's the Zooey Deschanel thing.
I don't like when people talk about Zooey Deschanel that way.
I don't.
Because here's the deal. She's gorgeous, period. Like, she's just gorgeous.
I don't think it's just about her looks. I think it's about her persona, like overly cutesy. From the perspective
I just think it's like, how is she different than Lucille Ball? How is she different than Lucille Ball?
I don't know.
Okay.
So we'll
talk about that some other time.
Right. There's this Canadian TV show, Slings and Arrows. And the first season, the main stage show in the Shakespeare Festival is Hamlet. And the woman who is playing Ophelia is quite possibly the worst actress ever in the history of the world. Oh. And she is preparing for her crazy scene, and so she gets high. And she keeps saying, they're like, why did you get high? People are like, why did you get high? And she's like, because being high is like being crazy. And everyone's like, no, it's not. It's not the same thing at all. And she's like, whatever, it's the same thing. Okay. That is what I felt like. I felt like everyone was either putting on a child or baby voice or playing high because for some reason they thought that's what being crazy is like.
Right. This is what it looks like to be crazy.
Just infuriating.
I wasn't infuriated by this movie because I was too busy being bored. I have been infuriated in the past by a Mel Gibson movie. This movie couldn't make me care. Peter, his name is Peter, is it Stormare?
Stormare, sure.
Who you will all remember from Fargo, if you have a soul. Mm-hmm. And he plays of the 2 kidnappers of the woman, he plays the non-Steve Buscemi kidnapper, the one with the weird sort of accent and just the weird. And we did a podcast a while back. We did an episode where one of our friends asked us, are there any actors who have embodied characters in such a way that you basically you can't imagine that anyone else could have ever played them? Peter, do you know what I mean? And we talked about, he was talking about Roger Slattery and Mad Men, but we gave our own examples. Peter Stormare in Fargo, his performance in that movie is so much an embodiment of that I can't. The problem is that not only can I not imagine anyone else playing that role, I have never, in 17 years, been able to picture him as anything else but that.
Yeah, if you have no soul and have not seen Fargo,
such an iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. He was also the doctor who gave who gave Tom Cruise the eye transplant.
Oh, that's right.
In Minority Report.
And then that movie stole so much from the Coen Brothers because Tim Blake Nelson was one of the other doctors.
That's right.
And he's from Oh Brother. But the reason I bring him up is he's in this and he plays a guy who thinks he's John Lennon, basically. I mean, he says he's the fifth Beatle, but he's basically it's literally just Peter Stormare doing a Beatle impression.
Yes.
Doing a John Lennon impression.
Yes.
And it's not charming, and it's not anything. The problem with their craziness, right? You and I have seen a lot of crazy people in movies.
Yeah.
Is there's no humanity to any of them except, again, for Jeremy Davies. Even Mila Jovovich is never given the time for her character to have any sense of reality.
Yes. This movie is such a chore. It's just such a chore. And
what do we want to say about it besides it's terrible? Because there's no reason for us to talk about it.
Hang on. I'm not done being angry because I got to be honest with you.
I wouldn't want to stop you.
Thank you. You said you couldn't hate this movie because you couldn't be angry at this movie because you were too busy being bored.
That's me. I didn't say you had to feel that.
No, I know. The reason I didn't, Phil, is because I pushed through that barrier. I came back around to angry.
That's fair. If I had been less tired, maybe I would have done the same thing.
I actually got angry at how boring this movie was. And it's I want to talk about this now because we've just talked about Peter Stormare. Nowhere in this movie, I mean, in every frame this is embodied, but nowhere in this movie is it embodied more than about, would you say, 80% of the way through the movie when you are just clawing your eyes out to make it stop. There is an inexplicable musical interlude starring Peter Stormare as the fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
It means nothing. It means nothing. Yep. It is completely and totally untethered from humanity, from reality. And I am all about impressionism. I really am because I think it really takes an amazing artist to make an impressionistic movie because you can't, what you're seeing on the screen is real, right? But for example, Fellini does it. There's a movie called Amarcord, which is basically about his childhood, and basically nothing happens.
Well, Akira Kurosawa's Dreams.
Yes.
That was the first Kurosawa movie I saw, and that was not the way in.
Me too, and I agree, but the difference with that is that's an episodic movie.
And it's really well done.
Right. So is Amarcord, because
I have
Fellini
I have
and Kurosawa,
two anecdotes.
I mean,
I have two anecdotes for you about this movie.
Okay.
One, no, you'll like these anecdotes. Both of them will cheer you up.
I can't wait. Honestly, I know I don't have the I can't wait.
Well, because you know how I know? Because both anecdotes have points, and so they're better than the movie itself.
Awesome. Can't wait.
When I was living in Italy, which was the spring of 2000, that's when the movie came out in Italy, and I hadn't heard anything about it, and then I saw posters for it all over Italy.
Sure.
So I had heard about it, but I never bothered to see it. But I was like, Mel Gibson's in a movie called The $1 Million Hotel, and I'd never heard about it? What's the deal? And then that's that. Okay? By the way, the movie cost $8 million to make, and it made $59,000 in the movie theaters.
$59,000.
$59,989. So we'll just round up to $60,000. Now,
Wow.
but that's not the second thing I want to tell you. And I got this straight from the Wikipedia page because I'm not really working very hard at this.
Good.
In an October 2000 press conference in Sydney, before the Australian release of the film, Mel Gibson said, "I thought it was as boring as a dog's ass."
That is the greatest thing I have ever heard in my entire life.
He later explained. Now, two things I want to say about that bother me. But first of all, one, he later explained, which I love. This is one of those explanations that, I mean, he does his best. It says, It was at the end of a day where I had done 6,000 interviews. Some guy was ragging on the film and it just slipped out. Later, I thought, God, why did I say that? I'm an idiot. I produced this film. I'm distributing it. It was pretty thoughtless of me because a lot of people worked very hard on that film. And the fact is there are moments of genius in it. The soundtrack is by U2 and it's phenomenal. So I really regret saying that. I have written a lot of apology letters about it.
Sure.
You will notice in there that I think he's being sincere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that it just slipped out means that's really what he thought.
Yes. Yes.
And why did I say that? I'm an idiot. I'm produced this film. I'm distributing it. First of all, that's part of the problem is he produced this film. Like he went out on a limb for this one.
Right.
And it just was a disaster.
Unmitigated.
I think the only reason it wasn't a total disaster is even for what they lost, $8 million ain't that much money. It really ain't that much money. But I'm really okay. So before we stop completely talking about this movie,
please,
and hanging up on this conversation forever,
please,
and hermetically sealing the bag so no $1 million hotel can escape.
A time capsule for the year 2113 that we are going to lose the map to, so no one ever finds it.
The year 21 never ever. What I want to say is what is the deal with Mel Gibson producing all of his movies at this point? From this point, like at this point, he has now produced like 3 or 4 of his own movies. Tom Cruise does this as well. Now, technically, Mel Gibson doesn't produce this one. His production company produces it, and Bruce Davey, his partner, produces it. Tom Cruise actually is listed as producer on most of his movies at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what the deal is with these guys. I mean, I get it from a monetary standpoint. I really do.
Sure.
But there's a weird sort of control element that I'm kind of like, why do you need to do this? Like, just...
If you need the control, direct it.
Right, which he does later on, right?
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing. But Icon Productions has always had a great rep from the beginning. Because they've apparently just been... they've figured out ways to make money and produce these movies on their own so that they can give people artistic freedom.
Right.
With the exception, of course, of Brian Hageland, who they just totally.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, I feel like, okay. Here's what we can talk about that isn't going to make me angry and make me want to punch things in the face. Let's talk about MG, like the evolution of the Hollywood figure. Okay. We have seen him more than any other star of the time period that I can think of. And number 2 would probably be Tom Cruise. We have seen him be willing to not be gorgeous in everything.
Yep.
We have seen him be willing to take kind of weird roles.
Yep.
We've been willing to see. We've seen him be willing to do a lot of things that, looked at a certain way, would not build a career to superstar status, but looked at from another way, it's like, oh, these are all calculated gambles, and he just guessed right time and time and time again, right? So even his missteps didn't hurt him.
Right.
The other movie that had just a murderer's row cast list and yet was terrible, and yet I hadn't heard of it because it's terrible, Mrs. Sophel. That's a wretched movie, but it didn't hurt him.
No, because you can't blame a guy for being in a movie with Diane Keaton.
That's right.
You can't do that.
No.
She's Diane Keaton in the 80s. Come on. The other thing is, I don't know.
I think maybe his luck, I don't want to say his luck ran out, but maybe he started to not, and I don't want to say believe his own hype, but maybe he just thought he had guessed right. He had rolled 7 so many times that like...
I just think I don't know. I think this guy's willing to just keep making movies. I think he loves movies, and he goes hit or miss, hit or miss, hit or miss. Because, I mean, Lethal Weapon, after which comes Tequila Sunrise, which is meh, and then Lethal Weapon 2, but then comes Bird on a Wire and Air America, and Hamlet. 3 movies in 1 year, and none of them were hits. And then Lethal Weapon 3, Forever Young, Man Without a Face. I mean, he's all over the map. I think, but I do agree with you on this. I think there are calculated choices every time.
Sure.
And I think the only person that's this calculated is Will Smith.
Sure.
Who's incredibly calculated.
You know what? I'm gonna add something onto what I said. This might be I mean, he's not British, he's Australian, but the actors from other English-speaking countries, from former subjects of the British Empire, shall we say, they will, and I'm not saying this as a knock, they will be in anything. They will do anything for a paycheck. And again, I don't mean that as a knock, but Anthony Hopkins has been in terrible movies.
Yeah.
Terrible movies.
But then again, so is Christopher Walken and Robert De Niro. That's
true. That's true. That's true. But I want to say it might have been an interview with Anthony Hopkins where he was like, I always want to do work. You know, I'm always.
Well, Christopher Walken has said that. He said, I don't say no to movies because
right. But
who knows when they're going to stop calling?
My point is, I think, of course, this isn't a blanket statement. Obviously, you can't do
I'm with you. I know.
100% generality.
Okay, I know.
Jerk. Why are you poking the bear on this Project Melway? Why?
I'm sorry.
Andy. Can't you poke the bear on a movie that I love?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Phil?
Yeah.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Thank you.
So, I feel like there is, if not a blanket statement to be made, I feel like there's a tendency, if you will, for British, Australian, Irish, Scottish actors to just like, I got offered this movie, and so I'm doing it, right? And when you combine that with the fairly American viewpoint of, I'm going to try and build not only like an acting resume, but a career, a star career, I think what you get is Mel Gibson's career, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right, he's all over the map. And the reason I didn't say that is because I forgot about his missteps. Because you always forget about his missteps.
Yeah.
Right? Who remembers Bird on a Wire?
Well, yeah, but that's true about everybody. That's true about Brad Pitt. That's true about. I mean, that's true. You're right, but that's what happens. Like with great. I mean,
that's a fair point.
I mean, we talk about Jimmy Stewart, right? Like one of our favorites of all time.
True.
He's made a ton of movies nobody cares about.
Right.
You know, he's made more mediocre Western movies than I've done good things in my life. I mean, it's not even. It's ridiculous.
That's fair. It's a fair point.
I totally disagree with your theory, but I look forward to talking more about it in the future at a different date when you're in a better place and we can love each other and hatefully disagree with each other.
I have to be honest with you. I didn't want to push it that far. I still don't. I'm done with it. You've vested.
You know,
it's
Andy,
fine.
I have something to say. Are you ready?
Tell me.
Chicken Run next week, bro.
So excited.
We have a really. I think we have a good run coming up here. Can I? Normally you do, but can I?
Please.
Okay. There's 3 more movies all made in the year 2000, including along with $1 Million Hotel. He had 4 movies come out in 2000. Okay.
Well, 3 in $1 Million Hotel.
Nah. Oof,
see what I did there?
Chicken Run. Come on, man. Chicken Run is like a balm to soothe your savage soul, right?
It's true. You're not wrong.
Chicken Run is an animated film directed by Nick Park of Aardman Animation. I think he directed it, but it's the guy who did Wallace and Gromit. And it's a total blast of a movie. I look forward to watching this with my daughter. Only the second Project Melway film that I can watch with my kid. Yes. And it'll make up for Pocahontas.
It's better than the first one. It's significantly better than the first one.
Then we have The Patriot, which is not a good film, but also not a boring film, and will give us much to discuss.
True.
And then we have What Women Want, which I will say almost the exact same thing about. Not a great film, but not a bad film. It will give us the opportunity to talk about Helen Hunt. Which never goes amiss, you know? To which I look forward because there's never enough time. I'll talk about Helen Hunt anytime. There's something about her. You know how we'll talk about certain actors and I'm like, well, we won't be doing a Project Melway for them. Right. I'd consider a Project Huntway. Sure. I'm just saying. Yes. Her movies are interesting enough, and she's an interesting enough actor. Probably won't happen, but you know. Yes. Anyways, and then so those are the 3 movies that are the next 3, and that's gonna be a fun 3. Sure. And we're really rounding the home stretch here, people. I want to be excited, and I am excited for Chicken Run, but I can't. The second we sign off, I'll be good, but we are literally 9 movies away from the end of Project Melway, and then by that time, Machete Kills will probably come out, and then we'll have one to do. Right. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. I mean, We're literally we're going. This is filming. This is May. By mid-July, by August, we'll be done with Project Melway.
And Machete Kills comes out either the first or second week of August. I'm almost positive.
September 13th.
Oh, son of a!
But it's kind of interesting because what it'll do. Well, what it'll do is it'll give us a chance to take a break, and then we'll come back.
Yeah. Yes. The best thing you have said tonight, from my perspective, is we get to take a break because these moments.
Hey, wait, kids, not from each other. Not
no,
from each other.
No.
Your father and I are not breaking up,
and we love you.
And the important thing to understand is the way we feel about Mel Gibson. Actually, I'm going to talk to Mel right now. Mel, this is not about you. This is about this terrible movie.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The way that your father and I feel about this movie, Mel, has nothing to do with you. Okay? We're not mad at you for all the things that you've done. We're not even mad at you for this movie. But we just don't want to talk about it anymore. You know what? Certain things are better left unexamined. And I think we're going to need to just sort of not talk about this one again.
I might still be mad at him a little bit for Attack Force Z, but, you know.
It's legit. Although, I'm always willing to come to MG's aid. Here's the deal. That's so early on in his career that it's like,
Oh, it's fair. I'm
still figuring it out.
Let me put it this way. I'm not less angry at Sam Neill.
What's funny is I will get more angry about Braveheart and The Patriot than I will, which I enjoyed thoroughly much more than $1 Million Hotel, than I will get mad about $1 Million Hotel.
It's fair. That's fair.
Because I'm just like, whoa, what are you doing with the history of my country, you jerk face? And why are you making me like it while it's not good for me? Like,
right. No.
We're gonna talk about but none of that, because next week Chicken Run.
Because next week Chicken Run. That's it. That's it, man.
Okay.
You started us off. You want to take us out?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the time that we've had together. I don't know how Andy normally wraps this up. I'm usually totally checked out by that point.
You want me to do it?
Send us some questions for our mailbag. You can reach us at secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions for who we should do when we wrap up Project Melway for our next actor series, secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com.
Indeed.
And next week, Chicken Run. Until tomorrow for our long form, which will be very excited. And until next time, I'm Phil Duvall. That's Andy Roth. Thanks all for being with us today.
Bye, everybody.
The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.